I'm recording now. I'm watching Steven work. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen
Why are we literally the only two that ever come to class?
because you're the best
I have
two.
nothing better to do. I paid for it, so
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
I know that another
and I
student,
enjoy the class.
huh? All right. I know that another student in this class has a legitimate work conflict. And so I gave that person a pass. I mean, everybody has a pass, but okay. Now, suicide, right? So let's look at the clinical picture and the causes of suicide. Suicide risk is a significant factor in all types of depression. It's the 15th leading cause of death in the world. So if you look at the color coded kind of thing here, basically you can see it says suicide rate per 100,000 per 100,000 capita, whatever. So per every 100,000 people, they have 15 or more in the deep red, and that would be up here in what would be USSR, Russia, I guess. Where you have low is in the light pink, less than 5 per 100,000, and you have that in say Mexico and some other places here in South America, and then North Africa here, and Middle East here, wherever. I don't know these places. On Italy is low. Then they have no information here up in I don't know where that is. Antarctica, Greenland, Iceland. I don't know. Anyway, so you can see for the United States though, it's
Why is there so much in like Germany or whatever?
why is there so much
Yeah.
culture? Yeah, I mean you can
That's
wonder.
weird. I think it would be America.
Well, America's pretty high too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was expecting it to be the highest though, because, you know.
America.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we have such high depression and anxiety. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we have to distinguish between suicidal self-injury and non-suicidal self-injury. Who attempts to die by suicide? Right. So we're going to look at psychological disorders, or people with psychological disorders, other psychosocial factors associated with suicide, some biological causal factors, and some theoretical models of suicide behavior. So suicide attempts in age, right? So versus completed suicide. So we don't say successful suicide because obviously there's no such thing as success when it comes to suicide. And then we're going to look at gender differences. So you can see as we age, it peaks right about 18, where you start to, this is the ideation, rather, I should say, meaning they're thinking about it. Um, the actual attempt and planning, also 18, seems to be a peak. And it starts all the way back. You start to see a rise at about the age of 10 or 11. So some disorders, um, people diagnosed with post traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorder, conduct disorder, which is a behavior disorder, and intermittent explosive disorder, where they just is what it sounds like. They just randomly, temporarily behave in accordingly, unaccordingly. What's the word I'm looking for? Not accordingly. All right. Other psychosocial factors associated with suicide: impulsivity. Ding, ding, ding. Impulsivity, doing things, thinking things, and acting on them, right? Acting on these things without thinking them through. People who are more aggressive, people who are more pessimistic, when there's a history of family psychopathology or instability, that again, that sense of hopelessness due to experiences, and then negative affect, meaning negative emotions like depression. So, what seems to be a link? Reduced serotonergic activity. Serotonin, right? We know it's for sleep. We know it's for appetite. We know it's for sexual arousal, body temperature regulation. But mostly what serotonin is for is contentedness. Contentedness. don't think of it as like happiness. There's a difference between happiness and contentedness, being content. Sociocultural factors. Whites have higher rates of suicide than African Americans, but the rates of suicide will vary across cultures and religions, as we saw in that other slide with the world map there. And we also learned earlier in this chapter that African Americans were more resilient to depression. So we're talking about the diathesis stress model. Diathesis is what you're bringing to the table, right? Maybe it's a history of bad experiences or bad serotonergic activity or some sort of depression or anxiety or something, and then you experience something stressful, right? So here's the interpersonal psychological model of suicide, dealing with like basically your other people, your interactions with other people. So interpersonal. Joyner proposes that people desire to die by suicide when they perceive that they are a burden to others and experience a sense of thwarted belongingness. They cannot act on this suicidal desire unless they have acquired the capacity for suicide. When these three factors come together, Joyner argues a person is at high risk for suicide. So when they say, someone's suicidal, or if you think someone's suicidal, what should you do? What do they say you should do? Let's say your friend's like, I don't want to live anymore. I wish I were dead, and I'm so depressed, and I just can't do this anymore. What should you do?
Talk to them about like all the people that like actually love them.
Okay. Yep.
What?
You can give them social support.
Yeah,
How
because
do you
that's
know?
what bring me back. You know what I mean? Is like like if somebody like kills themselves, like their family is gonna be so freaking torn up.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Um, how do you know whether or not they need help?
You can see it in them. They're like begging for it without like
How do you know for sure?
I don't know, maybe like they're aggressive and like they think they're like, burden, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
and they like I don't know, they're withdrawn.
Okay. One of the things that they say, professionals say, is if you really want to know if someone is suicidal, you should ask them, "Have you ever thought about suicide?" And if they say yes, that's something. And then here's the important part. How would you do it? If they have an answer, if they have an immediate answer, like they didn't have to think about it at all, that means they have the ideation part. Remember this part up here in the red? Once that peaks, once they have the idea, once they really know exactly how they would do it, then you have a problem. So that's what Joyner's interpersonal psychological model of suicide is saying, the acquired capacity, ability. And that means they've thought about it and they know how to do it, how they would do it. So a lot of times, now remember, you guys, you're younger than me, right? So you're going to be going through tougher things, at this time. It's hustle, man. It's freaking hustle and hustle, right? I get it. And that's stressful. And then your relationships, and then your family, and relationships with your boyfriend or girlfriend, or relationships with whoever, your friends, okay? It's tough, right? Work and all this stuff, school, and all this stuff kind of trying to come together, trying to be a fully formed adult, right? All these expectations all at once. And if somebody says something to you, you should say, "Have you ever thought about that?" And they say, "Yeah." You say, "Well, how would you do it?" And they say, "My dad's gone. You need to get help." Like you say, "Look, okay, then go with what Chloe's saying, and that is be there, you know, be there for them. Don't leave them like that, with their last thought being that. Give them something warm to drink, and that's that whole alignment with our emotions and our physical existence. You want to give them something warm, hot chocolate, tea, you know. Try to stay away from coffee if you can, but I can understand if you have nothing else because it's a stimulant. You don't want to give them that. So is tea technically, but not as much. Give them something warm to drink, something warm to hold. Um, you know, get them to move if you can, that kind of thing, interact. But you need to take that seriously.
So
That
like what if they like don't like know like they have all these other options of doing it? Like is that also a really big like warning sign or
what do you like if they say, "Oh, I would use my dad's gun. I would hang myself with a rope in the kitchen so everybody could see me." I mean like that.
yeah. Is
Yeah, I
that
mean, if they have multiple ways, yeah, that makes no less of an impact than having one. They just need to have at least one way that they know of for sure.
that freaking sucks.
Yeah, it does. It does. There was a former student of mine, who I won't name, who had committed suicide. And that really bothered me a lot because this person, um, not only was this person a really good person, but I saw this person often outside of college. And it really tore me up for a while. It really tore me up. It tore a lot of people up because this person was such a happy person.
Yeah, but because you never know what's on the inside. People mask it so
Yeah, the person posted a thing on Facebook saying goodbye or something, or um, good goodbye and good night forever, or something like that. Something like that. It was really, really, really upsetting. It really messed me up for a while, honestly.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I get close to, I would say, like at least 50 to 75% of my students. I was in a meeting yesterday on among the faculty and some of the staff. We had a special professional development meeting, and they were saying, we had to go to these breakout sessions, and one of the people asked me, Jared, your courses are very interactive. How are you handling this remote thing? Are you able to connect with them still? And it's not the same. I know it's not the same, but I still feel like I'm connecting with even new people. Like I
Yeah,
still,
definitely.
you know, even new
It's just
people.
give off that vibe. You connect to people very easily.
I, well, thank you. I just like you guys. That's all. All right. Anyway. Sorry. It's like my own therapy session. Thank you, Chloe. How much do I owe you? Okay. Um, so let's see. The treatment of mental disorders, of course, right? So the prevention of suicide can take the form of treatment of the underlying mental disorder. And so antidepressant medication for major depressive disorder, lithium for bipolar disorder, benzodiazepines for anxiety, and then you could do some sort of cognitive behavioral therapy. So it doesn't all have to be biological therapy or drug therapy or medical therapy. Crisis intervention, right? So first, like I said, you cope with the immediate crisis. Okay, you help show distress that is not endless. What does it say? Help show distress in not endless is not endless. Oh
What
yes,
the
yes. Okay, so this is what they're okay. I got confused. This is what you're saying, how to cope with the immediate crisis, right? So you maintain supportive contact. You help show that distress is impairing their judgment. You help show that distress is not endless, right? So yeah, you're having a tough time now, but it's gonna pass. You know, everybody goes through tough times. You're gonna. I went through tough times. You've gone through tough times in the past. You've gotten through it. You know, I'm here for you. I understand that this is a tough time, and it's kind of maybe messing with your ability to think clearly. There's a focus on high risk groups and other measures that will provide treatment aimed directly at decreasing suicidal thoughts and behaviors among those already experiencing these outcomes. We use cognitive behavioral therapy for suicide prevention for use with adolescents who have attempted suicide. These are considered the high risk groups. So those associating with others who have committed suicide or those who attempted. Okay, that's that. I'm going to stop recording.
All right.